Good afternoon, everybody. This is Monty Brown with Sigmatek. I am the SigmaMRP Business Development Manager. We will be starting here in just a minute or two. While we are getting ready here, I want to show you guys that here inside this Zoom meeting, you do have the ability to fill out a Q&A form. You should be able to find it in one of the drop downs. So as we're going through this presentation, feel free to put in your questions. And here at the end of the webinar, I will answer those questions best I can. Towards the end of the webinar, I will also be providing my email address as well as ways to get more information. So feel free to get those questions to us however you feel most comfortable. It's now 1 o'clock here Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. We will be starting here in just a moment. All right, well, I guess we will go ahead and get started then. Thank you all very much for attending. This presentation is going to be shop floor tracking with SigmaMRP. And as I've mentioned to those of you who've been here for a while, there is a way to submit your questions through the Q&A section. There should be a drop down inside the Zoom meeting. I will be answering those questions towards the end. We'll also have the ability to send me emails and get in contact with me afterwards. Again, my name is Monty Brown. I guess there's my email address right there, my phone number. Feel free to give me a call if you have more questions. See, we are a global company. We have locations all across the world. Find out more about our locations by going to our website at www.sigmamrp.com or sigmanest.com. Today's agenda, I am going to be taking off where I left off during my last webinar. During that last webinar, I showed you how we can quote. I quoted assemblies, single parts. I've also done another webinar on invoicing and QuickBooks integration. Today, I'm going to be concentrating on the shop floor portion. So we're going to create an order from a quote that I've already created. We're then going to make sure inventory is up to speed. We're going to schedule that job. We're going to release those work orders to the shop floor. Once we have those orders on the shop floor, I'm going to walk you through production using SigmaNest and our shop floor tools. Show you how work orders work, how management, sales, production control can all view the job status through SigmaMRP. And I'm also going to show you some specific tools we have for scheduling your nests. Lastly, I'm going to take you through the reporting and monitoring of the secondary operations, such as press brakes, drilling, weld assemblies, you name it. So I'm going to show you all that today. Should be a fairly short webinar, but we will get through it. All right, well, let's jump right into it. So we're going to start off in SigmaMRP today. We had quoted these two parts here. Let's just show that quote real quick. So we had quoted these two parts in their various quantities to Ringo. And see, there's 18 of these parts, and these are going to get some forming done. And then these are just plasma parts here. So we had sent this quote to Ringo. So today, we are going to place that order. So we've already got this in the system, and I will provide the link for this webinar here at the end. Get that put in there. So the first thing we're going to do is simply Ringo's going to give me a call. He's going to give me a purchase order. He's going to confirm his due date. He had originally told me he wanted it on the 30th, but now he wants it on the 31st. So we'll make that minor change. We save those changes. Since all of the data is already in SigmaMRP, all we have to do is promote this from a quote to an order. That's by going through this simple drop down here on the right side. Now, SigmaMRP is then going to start to do a bunch of things for you automatically. First of which, it is going to check inventory. It's going to make sure that we have the appropriate materials. Give it a second to get to that screen. So here it's told me that this job is going to require 1/4 inch 60 by 120. And it says that we need a little over 2 sheets, but we happen to have 4.7 sheets in stock. And that is below our reorder point, so it is giving me a suggestion to reorder at least 1 sheet. But I know that I have plenty in stock for this job, so I'm good to go. This screen would have also told me if I had bolts, bearings, any types of buyouts that we needed to add. It would have shown me whether they were in stock. If they were not a stock item, it would have given me suggestions, just as you see right here, to go ahead and get those purchased. Now today I'm not going to go through that purchasing aspect, but we do offer automatic, semi-automatic purchasing to get those suggestions going. But today I know we're good because we've got 4.7 sheets in stock. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to ask me how I want to schedule. Scheduling is a matter of looking either forwards or backwards and figuring out when you actually want your job due. So if I schedule backwards, it's going to look out there on the 31st and it's going to say, what day do I need to start this by to have this cut by the 31st? On the other hand, if I were to choose forward scheduling, it's going to choose the next available date. So next available date is great if you're running tight lead times, but scheduling backward is very handy if you have jobs that are out several months that you do not want to ship early. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and schedule forwards. Now what SigmaMRP is doing is it's in the background going through the operations that I've got out there. And this job right here, as I'll show you here shortly, we have some weld operations and forming operations. So it's making sure that we have time for those and it's booking those. It's also exporting the jobs to the necessary operations. In this case, it's sending those orders to SigmaNest. And it has given me a green indicator here on my job saying that the desired time was in fact possible. If I had chosen a date that was not possible in my schedule, it would have turned red. And then I could have used some of my planning tools, which I will show you here in a few minutes. Let's just show you right now. I would have used these planning tools to tell me which areas did not have time. Now you can see in my little demo environment, I hardly have any data in here. But when I click on a day, it does show me what is due on that day and what's in there. See, I've got a lot more due on the 26th, but you can see the jobs and their status. So we could have very easily seen why this was not allowed if it was overtime. But we do have a good time here. One of the things we can do now is we can add documents to it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bend instruction for this part. This way the press brake operator on the shop floor can see the instructions. Now this method of attaching jobs, documents to the jobs, I only attached this one bend instruction, but you can put whatever you want in here. These are links, so they can be live drawings, they can be SolidWorks files, Inventor files, they can be other PDFs, they can even be Excel and Word documents if you're using those. So you can attach as many documents as you need to this job to make those documents available to your shop floor. So now we have this new job out here. Let me go ahead and show you this job here. This is one of the first views of our planning module. So we have these two parts here. This first part, as I mentioned, it just has plasma on it, and it's got that cut time in there. The second part, however, is going to go through plasma and bend. So it has the plasma time and the bend. You'll notice one of the things on here that I'm going to be highlighting is these bubbles. These bubbles show you the status. So this one is in planned mode, but it has not been nested yet. We have a nested icon, we have an in progress, and we have finished. So as I go through this process today, you're going to see these bubbles change color. So first thing we need to do on this job is we need to get these parts nested. So I'm going to jump into SigmaNest. I'm going to use our auto task tool and go to work orders. And I'm going to find our 2 new jobs that we just released. And there's that one for 9 pieces, and there's that one for 18. So now at this time, I could select just those parts, bring those in and get those nested. However, looking at my work order schedule through SigmaNest, again, this would be on the programming side, I can see that I have other jobs that are due today. They're 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. So I can bring all of those jobs in at once. Bring them all into SigmaNest. Use our auto task again. And SigmaNest tells me that we have 2 nests that need to be made. So I've got a 1/4 inch nest and a 1/2 inch nest. And then use auto task to automatically go out and find material, get these parts nested. It's going to post them. It's going to put the appropriate CNC code on them. And it's also going to put out the reports. Now, with SigmaNest, you can choose to have this level of automation, or you can tailor it to what you need. I always preach kind of a crawl, walk, run scenario. So on day 1, more point month 1, you're going to want to see how this goes together. You're going to want to see how the nesting and so forth works. And then work your way up towards auto nesting and so forth. So if we look at these 2 nests, we want to see what happened here. So this first one, you can see it used some remnants automatically from my inventory. So these were remnants that I cut on previously. It also used a full sheet, and it used another full sheet, but is going to do a cutoff on there and automatically put that remnant back in our library. Now, I know I'm not giving you a lot of information on SigmaNest today, but just know that if you have any questions, we'd be happy to get SigmaNest specialists on to explain a lot more of what you're seeing here. Just know that whatever happens in SigmaNest, SigmaMRP is also capable of seeing. So you have one viewpoint into your inventory, your products, your product control. Let's look at the second nest that we put together for 1/2 inch. This one was a much smaller nest. You can see that it's just got these parts. It's done another sheet cut off here. So now at this point, we can use another tool to schedule these nests. And this is called Load Manager. This is typically a tool that's also used by the people doing the programming for the machines or engineering. Production control sometimes uses this also. But in this program, we show our shop floor. Now this is just showing your cutting machines for SigmaNest. But I've got 2 plasmas, and in my environment, they're back to back. And we've got another Oxy over here, and we've got a router. And as we click on these jobs, it shows us the programs down in here. If we hover over it, it shows us the estimated start time and estimated end time. And that is based on SigmaNest times. So you can see we've already got a 1/2 inch here on Plasma 1. Here's all of our programs that we just nested. So this allows us to drag and drop these programs over here. And you can see as you drop them that they build up, and it shows you the actual cut time. Now we can go ahead and grab them, drag a group of them also. Here we've got this 1/2 inch job. So we'll drag it over here onto this machine that was running 1/2 inch. Now this is something that especially people that have multiple programmers run into all the time, where you will nest something in the morning and then you will nest something in the afternoon. And it's the operator that's the first one to see that we have a full sheet nest here creating a remnant. And now we've just added a second nest, a second plate out there that's going to be creating another very large remnant. It would have been ideal if we had nested those together. but it's often very hard to see that. Even if you've got just one programmer, it's very hard to remember what you've done from the morning to the afternoon with all the different material groups. But with SigmaNest and our work order system, we keep track of all those work orders. And once you realize that scenario, it's very easy to jump back into SigmaNest. I'm going to show you how simple this is right now. So I'm going to clear that workspace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to delete all my half-inch programs, which is just those two. And when I delete those programs, it takes them off of the shop floor. So think of this as, in a normal environment, you'd have to go out there, find the paperwork, bring it back in, combine these jobs, reprint your paperwork. But with Load Manager, you can see it automatically just takes it from the production schedule out there on the shop floor. Now inside SigmaNest, we can go right back to that auto task feature that I showed you earlier. And SigmaNest knows that all of our half-inch parts are back in there. So we can very quickly just select our half-inch parts. Bring those in. And we click Run. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us that nest, but instead of giving me two different plates with remnants that are going to be created, we're going to combine those. Give it just another couple seconds here. And there we go. Now we see that we have this new plate that I can drop over. And you can see now that we've got one plate. So we've eliminated some extra work that we would put on our machine operator. Now, obviously, I don't have a lot shown inside this Load Manager, but you can book out days, even weeks worth of work. I personally recommend you always stay at least 4 hours ahead, but not get too far ahead so that you can easily work in reworks and expedites and so forth. But you saw how quickly I was able to pull things in. So this is the schedule as we would be seeing it from the programming office. The schedule is no good to you unless you can see that from the shop floor. And that's the next tool I'm going to show you. So we're going to switch hats and we're going to go out to the shop floor. And we're going to go out here to Plasma 1. You see I've got several different machines up here. So Plasma 1 now has all of my jobs listed on it. I can hit this Start button. We can also synchronize this to your machine depending on what machine you have. So that when you hit the cycle start, this program here can actually communicate with the machine. But in this case, I've started this program. I know my material. I know my approximate cutting time. I've always got access to get back to that PDF report, which many people know and love. But instead of using this report, I can also see all of this details right here from the screen. If I highlight a part, it shows it down to me in the bottom. Correspondingly, if I highlight a part down bottom, it shows it to me up top. It shows me the quantity nested, quantity rejected. Any of the custom data fields that we bring in, we can get all of those loaded in here. But the big thing is it tells you what's been rejected, what's nested, lets your operators know what's completed, what's not. Another thing that's really handy about color offload is that we can also sort by any of those custom fields. So right now I've got it color sorted by work order. So you can see that all of my better made parts, all these work order parts are separated here, but I can also separate by customer. So now we've got all of the rock products are the blue, that's the new stuff we just released today. And then we've got the yellow parts are for a different customer. We can also sort on secondary operations. So here I'm sorting by the next operation. So now I know that these parts are all going to bending because they're green, whereas this part right here does not have any forming going on to it. So you can make color offload do whatever you need, whether you're doing kitting, whether you're trying to keep work orders separate, Kanban kits, it just doesn't matter. We can get those separated for you as long as we have that data in here. Other things that you can do inside color offload is you can zoom in, so you can see the cutting path. You can even see the pierces, see what type of lead-ins, lead-outs you've got. When we're done with this job, we simply hit stop. And we can stop that. We can hit finish, and it will turn it green. It will leave it there, but it will take you on to the next job that needs to be started. So you rotate out your sheets. You get started on that next plate. Now you'll notice you have one that's green. And very typically, if you're on a laser with a shuttle table, this is going to be on the back side of a machine. If it's on a plasma, maybe you drug it off onto an offload table. But now you can go back. While the machine is running, cutting other pieces, now you can go back and see that last job that you had. If you had any parts that were rejected, it's very easy to reject those right here from SigmaNest, color offload. I can highlight that part. I can select the reason. It was, let's say there was a flaw in the cutting sheet. And if I were to click OK here, this would send this part back into my SigmaNest library, telling me, hey, we need one more of these parts. And this would all happen automatically. What this allows you to do is if you are in a situation where your operator is constantly having to come into the programming office, tell them, hey, I lost these parts. Instead, if you put together a process where they nested every morning at 7, 11, and then 4 o'clock, they would get a feeling for when the renests are always going to come out and when they're going to get their rework. Key there is to keep your operator at the table, keep them engaged in keeping those red lights on. In this case, I'm not going to reject any parts. I don't want to make this webinar run any longer than it has to. But once we're done with this sheet right here, we can simply click Update. And what that's going to do is that's going to tell the entire SigmaNest universe that we are done with those parts and that we consumed that sheet of material. I'm going to show you a little bit more on that later. One of the things I will show you right now is in Load Manager. We'll go back here to this. It's keeping track of what program is running. So it knows that this P671 is the program running. We can see that Plasma 2 is not running here because it has not turned to green. So that gives us a good indicator that something needs to happen on the shop floor. So this is where supervisors can go out and check on things. So I'm going to go get that machine running. We're going to go over to Plasma 2. And we're simply going to click Start on that. So now we're in progress on this job right here. We'll see back here in Load Manager that this is now turned green. So very good way of keeping track of what's going on the shop floor without having to call out on the phone or get up and go out to the shop and disturb the operators. Another couple things that you can do here inside Color Offload. Let's go back to a different screen here. Another thing that you can do is if you have, let's say, in this case, we've got a 1/4 inch mild steel, and we had called out a specific batch, a specific plate number. What if that plate number was on the bottom of a pile? You are capable of swapping those sheets out to other, highlight on it. You are capable of highlighting that and swapping those sheets out. I must not have any other sortable material available, but if I had other 60 by 120 1/4 inch mild steel in my inventory, it would have pulled up a dialog and allowed me to swap those sheets out. So just because programming says use this sheet, if the shop floor can't get to it or they find something they want to use instead, you do have that ability to swap that out. So let's go ahead and finish another sheet here. I'm going to finish that one. We can get started on this sheet. So while this is happening, go ahead and update that one also. We're going to put that one out. While this is happening, not only do we have Load Manager updating, as you can see here, but we also have SigmaMRP, which is getting updates. Now you can see here the status indicators are green, but when I refresh this, it's going to show up and show us that this first part right here has been nested, but we don't have any parts being claimed by the shop floor on it yet. So we have not started cutting this job. However, on this one, you can see now it's yellow, which means we are in progress. So from anywhere in the office, the salespeople, production, scheduling, management, you can see what's going on the shop floor. Not only can we see that we've started it, but we can actually check those time cards. And this is a very big thing. We can see that I claimed 9 of those parts at 120 here in my time and 123. So you can see as you're accumulating those parts, And this is extremely handy if you have thousands of parts. It was very normal in the job shop that I worked in. Someone would call in for a 10,000 piece order and say, hey, we just need 250. Do you have 250 yet? With SigmaMRP, you can very easily check your status. All right, well, my laser or my plasma operator is about ready to have a very awesome afternoon. We're going to complete all of this stuff rapid fire here right now, just so we can get on to the next stage. But you can see how color offload on these screens would give them all this control. And I didn't mention, this software color offload is meant to be ran on either a tablet or a laptop or a standalone PC out on the shop floor. The device that you choose really depends on your setup. If you've got an operator that's going back and forth between multiple machines, then you're going to want something portable like a tablet or a laptop. If they're in charge of one machine, then you can set this up to where you've got this on a PC up near the machine console, and then you can put the actual the load manager screen on a second monitor, a touch screen, back where they do the offloading, where they're actually rejecting parts and so forth. So there's lots of different options here. Just talk to us about what your options, your needs are, and we'll help you figure that out. All right. As I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and complete all of these jobs so that we can move on to the next process. So there, I've cleaned those out. You'll see here that Load Manager is going to follow suit. And it's going to know that Plasma 1 completed all their jobs. Back here in SigmaMRP, we'll now see that we've made additional status here. So now we've got this part here. It's still waiting on my server to update. Give another couple seconds here. There we go. So now Sigma Nest has updated SigmaMRP, telling it this first job here with just the plasma only parts are complete. And again, we can see those time cards. We can see that I reported 8 of them at 1:26, and another single part here just a minute later. You can see that going through. For the second part in that work or in that job, we can see that plasma is complete, but bend has not been started. So we can see what's going on out there. And you'll notice it's yellow here. So the next tool I'm going to introduce to you is called Subfloor Data Capture. Now this is, again, another software. This is going to run on any of your secondary operations, be it press brake, drill, weld, assembly. You could even put in QC operations, shipping operations, however you want to organize your shop floor. This is going to be the tool that they use to log in. So I'm going to get John logged in here. John logs in here and he sees that he's got this job here to do, and this is the part that we actually quoted. Now we've already done some material allocations. If you were paying attention there during color offload, you noticed I used 3 sheets to cut those parts. So it already knows that those sheets were there. We can proceed to that operation. We can get started on it, put in our setup time. And this is touchscreen capable, so all of this is very easy to do as long as you have a decent sized tablet or laptop out there. So now we're in on this job. And one of the great things here is you don't have to send paper out. In this case, we're on the press brake. The operator can simply click the View Docs button, and he can not only see those material certs. Let's see if I can pull that up. Yeah, there we go. Not only can they see the material certifications that we had for those materials, but he can see the bend document. So here's the bend instructions that I attached earlier. And this is just something from SigmaBend. But now the press brake operator can easily see what steps they need to go through to form it, what tooling they need for the setup, etc. And again, you could have sent out a SolidWorks file, Inventor file, you name it. All we got to do is attach. It's just going to be a network address. Another thing that you're going to notice back here inside SigmaMRP is that now this bubble has turned yellow. So just like we watched this go through the process on plasma, we can very easily see here that John logged into this parts at 128 and has not claimed any quantities yet. So we know exactly what's going out on the shop floor. While this screen's up, I'll talk about a few more things here. We also support outsourcing. So let's say we had an outsourced operation on here to where this was going to go out for a powder coating operation afterwards. Had we loaded this part in here with the outsourcing, it would have shown up as an operation also. And we could have seen that status. We would have seen when we sent that, when we dispatched that to the powder coater, and we would have seen when it was received back in from the powder coater. So you can set up those secondary off-site operations for any of your operations, be it welding, assembly, powder coat, whatever you're going to be doing there. So let's go back here to the shop floor again. We're going to have John go ahead and finish this job. So John here has finished that job. He's going to report his quantity. He's going to get a tag. Now, if this had a next operation, like it was supposed to go to welding or drill, it would have shown up down here. So it provides them very good routing. Breakdown time. And then it takes them on to their next operation, shows them what they're supposed to be making. One of the things you'll notice also from this screen is not only does an operator see what parts they're going to be working on that day, but they get to see the status. For instance, this part right here, you'll notice that it tells you from that front screen that plasma has not been started yet. So there's no point in them trying to look for those parts. It gives them a very good reference to what they're supposed to be working on and what's available. But it does show that this next part here is available with that green check mark. So back in the office, again with a quick refresh, we can now see that we are blue across the board on both of these parts. We can click down here. We can show those. We can see that John clocked in at 128, clocked in at 130. Amazing time, right? And got those 18 parts done. All of this information is stored inside SigmaMRP. You can get to it via reports. You can get to it via job overview screens. If I come back here to the main job screen and go find that order, I can see an overview of that job through the timesheets button. So I can see, again, what things were done, the estimated times, the actual times. The actual times aren't going to show much since I went through it so quickly here just now. But you can also get right back to those time cards from here. Everything can also be exported to Excel. At this point, the only thing really left to be done is we know it's time to ship these parts. So we do this shipment. We can see that Ringo, my customer, has a good credit limit, so he's well within that. Get our shipping document pulled up here. Now we could partial ship. In this case, we're going to ship complete. So I'm going to say save and print. And now we have our shipping document. So this is ready to go. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, I do have other webinars out there. We will be sending out an email afterwards, but let me just show you where that link is right now. You go to our page. Yeah, if you go to the Sigma Nest, here it is, Sigmatek Systems, and then look for the SigmaMRP playlist, you will find all of my past videos, as well as specific videos on Load Manager, SimTrans. Here's one on SigmaMRP and QuickBooks. So do come out to YouTube and check us out there. Well, that was my presentation for today. I'm going to check the questions here. So the questions that I have so far are, need a link for last webinar. I just showed that to you. So you can go to YouTube and find that. You can also email me directly at monty.brown@sigmanest.com, and I will send you an email with those links in it. And I believe that was my other question too. So are there any other questions out there today about using SigmaMRP for shop floor tracking. All right, well, that concludes today's event. I thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. Good afternoon.